All right, we're live. And so you guys chat amongst yourselves real briefly while I go and make sure I've got the YouTube page up so I can see what the chat says.
Okay.
Excellent. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it on my phone. So, Casey, how's it been?
Had a long day, a lot of traveling today. So
I bet.
yeah, but happy to be here and happy to talk about the City of Brass and one of my other favorite things, which is miniatures and miniature modeling. So
yeah, I love miniatures and miniature modeling, and I can't do any of them, though I can print them out. I have a giant pile I printed out, and an even bigger pile I bought from Reaper. And I look at them, and they look back at me, and they're like, F you, these are all wasted. But I love them anyway. I love them anyway.
One of the things with my Dirty Bob's Roadhouse Facebook page is that as I do playthroughs of our City of Brass campaign in my house, we take lots of pictures of all the miniatures, and I've been teaching my daughter how to paint and her best friend how to paint. My wife's a really good painter, so we all kind of pitch in, and then I make them paint the figures that within a week or two they end up having to do battle against. So I'm learning on the bones now.
I found them a little bit tough. I found originally a little bit tough until they taught me a few things on this website.
Yeah,
but
one of the good tricks is Formula 409. Spray them with that.
Saw that. Saw that one. Saw special kinds of paints.
Yeah. I just use the cheap stuff. I don't like taking advantage of my friendship with Reapers, so I ask for very little from them.
I take advantage of my friendship with Reaper. Absolutely.
Well, no, this isn't true. What happens is Zach, on behalf of Matt, takes advantage of Reaper for Matt.
No, half of it went to me, half of it went to you. I burned through all of my store credit, and now I'm about halfway through yours.
Yeah, well, okay, but the guy who actually did the begging and hobnobbing was me.
Yeah.
This is why I'm valuable, because I don't do the other stuff, but that's what I do well.
A more efficient use of time.
I'm a micro bill. I'm like mini bill, like a mini me of bill. So I just talk to people and they give me money.
Okay, so let's let people know what it is that we're doing here. I see Tom Tullis has shown up with the single cryptic comment of cells. What we're doing here, a lot of people probably know that Frog God Games is going to come out with the they're going to begin the Kickstarter for the mega module City of Brass, and they're going to do that. Is it Monday, Zach, or did it move to Sunday night?
I believe it's Sunday night, and that depends on somebody who's not very technically talented and not here. So I hate to say Bill's name when he's not around, but it depends on Bill.
The whims of Bill. Okay.
But we're playing tomorrow. It looks like tomorrow.
Okay, so what that means, given that it's up to Bill, is that nobody freaking knows. This Kickstarter is going to be going, and we have the author of City of Brass, Casey Christopherson, here. Say hello, Casey.
Hey, everybody.
Now, right at this point, we're not going to be talking about much about the content of City of Brass, because this is an independent project that Jim Wampler, Zach Glazar, and I are working on, and because we're the ones who run the Uncle Matt's D&D Studio YouTube channel, so we're independent from Frog God, even though all of us are partners in Frog God, and we're just like an independent production studio.
We're like a breakout restaurant that shows up somewhere and has a restaurant for 2 days and goes back.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah. Okay, punk rock label. That's the one you liked.
We're a punk rock label. That's what we are. Anyway, so the goal, what we're going to be doing during the Kickstarter is we're going to do kind of a little series. The objective here is that we are going to build a model or a diorama, or however you look at it, of part of the City of Brass, so that we can record a sort of walk-through video at miniature's eye view of this area, so you can actually see it from the inside, although it's minis, but it's going to be a lot of fun there. And so this is just the first little installment of this. We're going to talk about the plan for what we're going to do. We're going to chat with Casey a little bit about the architecture and the colors and things like that that are involved in City of Brass, because he's an art teacher, and so has probably already given a lot of thought, to what it looks like inside, through his own head. So Casey, that's a good question. I mean, visualization. Do you have mental images of the city of brass?
Oh, I do, and you know, it's easy to go along with the traditional sense of, you know, the big onion domes and all that kind of stuff, and the tall minarets and things. And there are definitely those items there in the city, but I approached it from a kind of a standpoint of genies have the ability to grant wishes. They have to wield the power of creation, which means they have a better understanding of the past, the present, and the future than a normal mortal would have. So you walk in and you see that as you enter the top layer of the city, you see all of those big shiny you know, domes and all of this kind of stuff, and the gleaming metal and all of these kind of things. But the city, as it was described, is built into a bowl like this. So if you think about like a wedding cake with the different tiers, and then take the wedding cake and flip it upside down and put another cake on top of it. So you have this part of the city that's built up like this. That's the fancy part that they want everyone to see. So that's all your golden domes and your brass and your big ziggurats and your floating pyramids and all that kind of stuff. But then there's the platforms that lead deeper and deeper into the bowels of the city. And let's face it, it's on a boiling crude oil ocean at the edge of the plane of fire. So it's full of ash and soot and grease and smoke and grime at the bottom, and all of that stuff is going to collect at the bottom. So as you get lower into the city, where Matt's talking about the where a lot of the Black Magic Bazaars and things like that are located, is in the middle city, and then the lower city. More of the grime is going to be there, and less of the metallic look, and more stone and brick and that kind of thing built underneath it. Plus all of the big gear works and stuff that they have to pump the bilge to keep the oil from filling up the lower part of the city. So that's
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I have a question on one of the things I've working on the Kickstarters and working with Casey, who's our art director now for all the Lost Lands and D&D stuff. He has given us some artists that are just out of this world. Have they changed any of the way you perceive the City of Brass looks based on the artwork you've got?
A little bit. I would say that Colin has, you know, I gave him my kind of written vision and my description and some copies of the maps, and then he turned over some stuff that was really kind of more modern than I was thinking of, but I loved it, and it's kind of said a lot to me. It reminded me of like Getty Prime from Dune, or
yeah. Sorry. I get all excited. When you say Dune, I get all excited. Sorry.
Yeah, Colin always surprises with what he comes across with. So far, I haven't been disappointed in anything, but a lot of times it's not quite what you'd expect.
Right. And I've loved everything he's done, and you know, like he sent me some pieces that I wish I could share the thumbnails with, but they're pretty raw right at the moment. He sent me 4 thumbnails today, and I'm like, yeah, but where's the Tesla tank and the jetpack, you know? And that's kind of how we're trading back and forth. So, you know, I like 2 and 3, you know, give me some of this and give me a little more detail on these 2 so I can pick one, you know? And we still include the stuff that comes from the roots of the Middle Eastern thing. So there's going to be bright, brilliant silk colors and you know, those kind of things, and those kind of cinnamon shades to stuff, and those really nice enameled greens and that sort of thing that are going to be there. But also,
so let me start jumping in from there, and talk for a moment about one of the things I've always thought about fantasy cities, especially sword and sorcery type fantasy cities, is that they're colorful. You know, it's not like the sort of Tudor you know, 2-colored type of thing, you know, that you often see. I'm just looking for a piece here. Okay, so for example, I want to show one of the pieces that I've got here, and this is an example of the sort of thing that we're going to see, and I'm going to talk more about that later. But so, for example, this piece right here, and this is not done for City of Brass. This is because my own city You know, because I run the games for my group, and my own city is based on a combination of North Africa and Minoa, and so that North African and Spanish influence there, although it's not the sort of high Arabic stuff that was coming in the Arabian Nights, it is very, very strongly Middle Eastern and Arabic in terms of its tone. And so you can see, for example, and this is not one of the most colorful ones that I've done, but you can see, you know, the building's decorated, and you know the dome here really coincidentally is metal. And so this is the kind of thing, you know, that we're going to be looking at when we build it out, or it's at least one of the types of things that we're going to be looking at. And so talking about the walkthrough itself, let me see if I can switch over to the document camera and show the notes.
Well, hey, Matt,
yeah,
I want to interject real quick and just say that out of nowhere during the wrapping at the Kickstarter, Matt sent me a link, and it was a link to a file of a walkthrough of Zelkor's Ferry, and it was very, very successful. But what he had done is taken two characters who had survived Rappahathic and talked insane to each other. But the very concept was so very cool that we decided to do it again, but this time actually step through the process of it, so you can see the whole thing and see how it is behind the scenes. So,
and also that first one is pretty rough, you know, because it was the first time.
It was awesome. Literally, if you had anybody else try to do that, like, I need you to do this, everybody just said no. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so so what I sort of started with was kind of a map. Actually, I started with a schematic. Here's how we switch the camera over. Go to that one. Okay, so here's my desk. I wanted to do this outside because then I could spread out a whole bunch of stuff, but unfortunately the internet connection outside didn't work as well as the Ethernet. But this is the thing. Let me see if I can turn it around, and here we go. Okay, so that's okay. So I'm seeing this in mirror image. So all right, so here's what happens is that we start over here, and this is basically the start point. And then the idea, is that the one that we used? Yeah, okay. We start here, actually, up at this corner, and then we're going to move this way along. And then we get to here where we're going to look around a corner and see something interesting. Don't know what that'll be yet, but it lets you turn and look. Then move a little further on. Here's another turn and look space where there's something interesting. Then come around here, and then here's where we enter the main Black Magic Bazaar. All of it's going to be themed with the Black Magic Bazaar stuff. There's going to be another look-see out over here. Then we go around here, one more look-see, and then I think these two connect. So we see the same thing again from the other side. Come around, one more look-see over here, and then we're back at the start point so that it works a circle. And we never have to just turn around and backtrack while we're doing it through the video. And so then from there, I drew that out in the way that it would look as an actual schematic. Okay. And the idea here was that it was going to be, these are going to be 20-foot squares. Is that upside down as well as backwards?
No, it's perfect.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So once again, we start over here, and then we go past this 20-foot wide street, and they have to be by 20 feet. That's two inches clearance. Sorry, it's 4 inches clearance, and the reason is that I need 3 inches clearance for the camera, so I can't make the camera drive through a street that's any more narrow than that. So we go 30 feet to here, another 30 feet to here. Here's our look through down this little alleyway. Sorry, my hands are covered in paint. I just realized, so I'm not much of a hand model here, but I've been painting all day. Then another 20 feet. Here's our northward look-see. Then we come around here. This is the square I've labeled D. That stands for diorama, because I'm going to make some little miniature dioramas that are there, merchants. And let's see if I can grab one. If there's
While you're grabbing one, Matt, can you explain, like, did you just come up with this like right away? Like, did you already know the parts you had? Like, how did you come up with actually the drawing part? Like, what was your start point just for that? Did you have in your mind what you were going to do?
Yeah, this was just a this is a sketch of what I would like it to be. There is no way that I'm going to actually be able to build this much. So the idea is starting with the aspirational goal. We'll see where we get to over the course of 21 days. And then what'll happen is it's like successive approximation. Because what I do with this project and with actually a whole lot of other projects is, you know, start with the goal, see where we get to, and then I'll sort of refine that down after, you know, 1 week, probably refine it down again after another week. And then at that point, I'll probably put stuff that I've got together and say, okay, this is what I need to fill in. And then I'll start getting to specific pieces for it. Because the thing is that 3D printing is very, very slow. And so it requires some planning in advance. It's going to be, you know, like I said, it's not going to be possible to do something on the scale of what I've got on there, because if we take a look at this, the number of building. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, didn't you say that Tom Tellis was watching? I bet you he could make it faster. I swear. We have like an expert there. He should be making faster printers and not more models. Get on it, Tom. No, Matt's right. We had 2 printers going for, I gave a bunch of parts, but to make any kind of centimeter model, they're hours a piece. I'm about 4 hours per like a 10 square foot piece, Matt. Is that about you?
Are you serious?
Well, if it's really complicated like with a wall on it, it's like
yeah. If there's a wall on it, yeah. I thought you meant a floor tile. I was
floor tile is about an hour 10 maybe.
Yeah.
But still, when we're talking here, when you're looking at this map, what you're looking at is lots of hours. Yeah. If you've never 3D printed, it's really mesmerizing and awesome, but that's a lot of work. So
yeah,
a lot of time. Yeah.
Tom has a solution for you, Matt, in the chat.
Yeah, more printers. Thank you. Well, you know what? Here's actually the thing.
I bet he sent you some if you ask.
If switch. The only thing about switching cameras is it takes a moment. I wish there were a one-button solution for that. But okay, so actually, I don't think I could use an additional printer, and the reason being that what I can print over the course of 24 hours is about as much as I can paint during a day as well. So there's the second limiting factor of the painting speed. And if I did have another printer, I would just end up with a huge pile of unpainted stuff, you know, that we wouldn't be able to
collect more children, which is what I do.
Yeah, I was going to say is that Casey has a solution to that. It's a good thing meeting the minds. I've heard Casey's solution.
I do have available kids to do that. I don't know what quality the painting would come out, though.
Here's the trick. What you do with the kids is you have them do all of your base colors. You tell them what you want. You give them a little schematic, you know. Say, I want these 10 guys because they're wearing the same uniforms. They all have a blue tunic, and then, you know, have them do all your base colors for you. Then you go in and do all the finish work.
And you can actually get your teenager to do that. Ainsley.
Yeah. 2 teenagers, no less. Oh. Yeah, I got
excellent. Extra nerd points. Many extra nerd points for that.
Dude, I'm gonna promote him, dude. I think we should promote him. He can be art director and he can be like a child education manager.
I think we could make him senior chief art director.
Hey fellas, I got to get rolling out of here pretty quick. I did want to say one more time about the Dirty Bob's Roadhouse Facebook page. I put painted pictures, miniatures of the games that I run that are currently in my City of Brass campaign at home, with little bits of tidbits and deals. So anybody who's watching wants to follow that, they get to look at the pictures of my paintings and my 3D prints and all of those cool that I make to go along with the modules that I write.
Okay, so Casey, what you need to do is you need to message me the link to that, if you can figure out the way to isolate a particular Facebook group.
Sure.
And email me the link to that, and then I'll put it down in the description under here as a hot link so that people don't have to try and figure out how to spell Dirty Bob's Roadhouse.
I'll get that to you tonight. Thanks a lot,
awesome.
Guys. Thanks for having me in.
Make sure you get the right extension on Dirty Bob's Roadhouse or whatever, because I have a feeling that could go 2 places.
It could go somewhere else really bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Maybe you have both of them. Maybe you own both of them. I don't know. See, I told you. I knew it.
Okay, so let me run back now to this little map, and then once we've sort of got the idea there of what's going to go on, then we can start talking it through, Zach. Yeah, diorama. So when I talk about a diorama, it's like this. This is one of the ones that I've already made for the city of Jordan. And it's basically just background, background detail. But I figured out, roughly how many of those I was going to need, here, and that's where, my little D's.
Are you reusing those, or are you making all brand new ones?
I'm going to reuse the ones from Jordan because they already work. I mean, that works.
And they're really nice too. I mean, that was my question leading to that.
But I'm going to do, the new ones that I make, because I've got like 3 of them, maybe 4. So the new ones that I'm going to make are going to be, much more themed toward, this is a Black Magic Bazaar, and it's possible that I'll make all new ones. To make that thing. Tom Tullis says, dude, a tile wall should only take 2 hours. Tom is lying. A tile with a wall on it takes 3 hours for a low one and 4 hours for a taller one. We
can just both agree that Tom Tullis is just somebody we should not talk to like this.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, So here's the thing, and so that's sort of mapped out what I want. Now, since these, I'm trying to point to my screen, each one of these little squares that I've made here is actually 20 feet. So that's 4 little 10 by 10 tiles, and the 10 by 10 tiles, for example, let me grab a street tile, so you can see this. The foundation of the whole thing is going to be the streets, and so these are street tiles, and you can see here they interlock. Using this drag and lock clip like that, so they'll hold together, and that's fairly key.
Some genius made those, man.
And the last thing that the genius has said is, "Damn it, Jim! Now I want cookies," because I'm looking over at the chat.
Well, he's more of a savant, I guess.
Okay, savant is accurate. So anyway, so these things connect like this, and so this is what we're talking about. And then as you're going down the street, in anything where the camera has to drive down it, it's actually going to be like this, and then the camera takes up about that much space moving around. So this is going to be the wide streets, and then there are also what that lets me do is it lets me just use a narrow street for those look downs, where you take a peek down an alleyway. That way I don't have to print all those additional street tiles that would be needed if the street
Matt,
were wide.
Can you let everybody know what kind of camera it is you plan to use and how it works?
Yeah, actually I can show a picture of it since I'm using this document cam. Hang on a second. Yeah, because I have had a couple people ask me how it's done.
Well, I can tell you right now that he didn't know how it was done when we started. That was much trying and failing on both of our parts, trying to figure out a good way.
Oh yeah. So okay, so here's the camera. This is just a regular webcam, and when it's going through the place, it's actually set up. This is kind of funny trying to take a picture of a camera with a camera. Okay. So it's set up like this, and the reason it's got this little tower up here on the top is that it holds the little cable out of the way so that it's not dragging directly.
You're not knocking over your dioramas as you go.
Exactly. And it's
you
still
want intentional, like halfling being run over by carts, as opposed to accidental camera stuff. I get it.
Or blowing up the opium
walls,
den.
yeah, or the wall.
Or the wall, yeah. Skeeter did that
it's pretty tough. Jordan was pretty hardcore. I didn't think it would be, but yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that sometime.
All right, so let me switch the camera back for the last time here, and then we'll be good. There we go. Okay. Still don't have any real questions in the chat. I think probably Casey would have been the one that pulled out most of the actual questions.
Well, we'll have him on in a few days again. We talked about the actual Kickstarter, but since we're both here on this, I don't know if we've ever talked on the stream a little bit about how you run the game on your end and what it is I do, because those who don't know, you see Matt on the screen all the time. Occasionally you'll hear this voice in the background that will either laugh or say, "Hey, I can't hear you," or they will say, "Zach's not here this week. We're on Hangouts." But what I do is I'm the guy who runs the XSplit broadcaster, and I draw the screen pictures of everybody so you can run the game and live and be able to use 2 cameras over at Matt's end in Houston, and I run it like a control room in Arizona. So when Matt came up with this idea, we had to try a lot of stuff. And so what he's showing you now, I take it for granted because I understand what it is he's doing, and you can see it on the screen, but how it's actually done, to play an online game with miniatures was it took a lot of imagination. He had to have both a complete understanding of what he wanted and a total lack of understanding on how to get it done in order for it to come together.
It's true. It's true.
It's really interesting though. It was really neat. But by having that and setting it up, when he's looking at the diorama, we have, what do you say, about 8 months experience with us now, maybe more?
9.
9 months. We've been doing this and messing with it to the point where Matt can look at like a map on an RPG map and understand what it is what the limitations are with the equipment we'll use to make sure he can do that well and display it. And he'll make pieces that are painted with like squids and all kinds of crazy stuff on them, knowing where they're displayed so they could be shown. And it's like partially like a TV program that's reality TV with a bunch of people who have no idea what a script might be. And so they go a wrong way sometimes, they blow everything up, but the planning on it is a lot more complicated than I think people realize, which is kind of why I brought it up, because this is a neat project to show with the City of Brass, because it's something that's going to be talked about a lot, and I won't show up about it soon. It will give you an idea of what it is to take to make this, and you could really use it on your table in a way that you could do a lot of shortcuts and cool things that we aren't required with Matt. So the walkthrough is going to be really neat. Yeah,
one of the things that's nice about the walkthrough is that it's not unpredictable. You don't have Skeeter suddenly saying, "Oh, I want to go left," and so, and you've only got a little bit to the left.
Let's go down Bad Choices Alley, and then it just goes south from there. Or why are there guards in front of the sewer? There's lots of stuff that happens in the Jorba games that go a different direction than I think Matt expects.
Yeah, no, that's part of the fun of it in a game when you're not using terrain and minis. It does cause occasional moments of panic when you're using terrain and minis. So.
No, it's all true. So okay, so you have the diagram now.
I do have I have the diagram, and I am actually going to show one more thing, because I'm going to show what I've printed and what I'm printing right now, because basically today was day 1 of the building the City of Brass project. Actually last night was when I first focused on that, and what I decided for, there are several components to this, because it's not just streets and building walls. You've also got the miniatures that you're going to see along the way and the objects in the street. And so given that this is a Black Magic Bazaar, I figured that we could put some animals or even people into these great big cages.
Halflings
would fit well. And have these just along the street as you're going by, or one of the people who's selling stuff is selling monsters that are in these cages. This was not a very long print run. That was what I did the night before. And then what I'm running right now, there are 2 sorts of projects that can be done, actually. One of the things was, I held up that Arab building before. It was this thing here. Now that is printed all in one piece, or at least the 3 levels of it. Each one of those is just a single piece, and that's fast to print. It's much faster than the Fat Dragon terrain, but the thing is that once you've printed it a couple times, they've seen it, and it becomes repetitious, and there's only so much that you can do by mirroring buildings and changing scale. So the Fat Dragon city terrain is much more modular. You've got little pegs, they slide into walls, like so, and then you plug it into a floor, and you construct things from a very small level of detail. Now that's too fiddly for actual use. What I'm going to do is basically glue them together into tile pieces that are basically a lot like the dungeon pieces you see moving around.
Can you, real quick, Matt, do you paint these now? Do you base coat these after you print them? What's your process from the printer till you start putting them together? Is there anything, the steps involved?
I'll probably show that maybe in the next video.
Sure. Okay.
Where I'll put together some that are halfway done so that I can say, here's what it looks, this is the starting point, when it comes out of a 3D printer. This is using
like a cooking show, so you already have one done, so you can show it. All right.
Exactly.
So this is food. All right.
What I've got right here in front of the camera is what I can do in about a 10-hour print run, and I printed this one out, and it's got one door in it. It has one lintel. It has one of these long walls. It has one of these windows. As it turns out, I'm going to need 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these. So basically, I'm repeating this print run 2 more times. So I've got an identical run on the bed of the printer right now, and for 3 times it's going to be wash, rinse, repeat. And then I'm going to do that, and then I'll also be doing some plaster casting so that we can keep up. Because once again, there's just, it would be a tremendous amount of printing to have to do if it were all on 3D printer. So some stuff I'm going to plaster cast, and then I'm also I have some credit from Reaper Miniatures, and so they have a really nice genie. They have a couple of nice efreets. So I'm going to go ahead and buy those and paint them. And we'll talk.
And the thing is, there are the miniatures I've seen lately coming off the 3D print ones, especially with some of the special nozzles, are really, really nice. Tom Tullis did say that they have a tile wall classic style village building set coming in August.
Okay, Tullis.
Too damn late.
All right, Tullis. What do you mean by classic? God damn it. Hang on a second.
Invite him in.
Yeah, this one.
Don't say "goddamn it, Zach" to me.
I did say that.
Job. I know you did.
Are you getting tired of people saying "God damn it, Zach" to you?
Oh, I think that at this point I've heard it so much. I was married, I still am actually. I hear that a lot, but wearing the t-shirts was new. So I'm going to warn everybody: if we can find him, a very bald, very smart man might show up on here.
Yeah, I got to find him first.
Nope, maybe not. We were going to help pimp your stuff, Tom, but alas.
I bet you we could find him.
Why don't you look in the porn district of any city he builds stuff for?
All right. All right. New message. Here we go.
All right.
Tom. And send link. I wonder if I've already got that. So that means I have to look at. Taking me a moment.
There's no worries. The way I see it is, he's probably putting on clothes like desperately quick, knowing you're going to ring him.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
And I would say that was uncommon, but I would worry the same thing with Bill. So.
Yep. Okay.
All
right. I've sent him his invitation. So Tom, when you get that,
come explain yourself.
Yeah, we want to know about this thing. Still navigating around. All right, here we go.
All right.
So tile wall classic style village building set. By classic, I wonder if he means classical. Because this Tudor stuff is already what I would call classic village. But anyway.
Well, if he would come explain himself, it'd be fine. So anyway, can you, while we're waiting, can you say what was the impetus for doing the walkthrough for Rappahannock? Why the walkthroughs? What interests you? Is because you're building the terrain for your game already, or you just want some comedy going on? The one to work, to buy stuff.
the one for Rappahannock was because I had a really bad fever, and I do bizarre shit when I've got a fever.
I remember this.
Yeah, and so that's why you can barely understand the voice on that, because I put this stuff together. I mean, some things you just can't explain.
Yeah, and that's my recollection of it as well. This is not like some kind of fabrication on Matt's part. It was like, okay, I did this thing. I'm like, what thing? And he sent it to me like, what's going on? And then I recognized actually though from the maps, because Skeeter Green and I had done all the map work. There's 120 maps, but I fixed each and every one of them. I'm like, that's the Gates Elkhorn Ferry. I know it. I know exactly where it is. I'm like, what is he talking? And there's like this guys were like crazy already. I'm like, Matt's already insane. But that is the background. That's why he started doing this. But now it's a matter of you trying to trying to make more new styles? You trying to try things out, or you just want to mess with the camera?
Well,
I mean, I know we're going to help try to push the City of Brass, but it's just cool. But is that?
Well, now it's a tradition.
No, fair enough. It's
You know,
a fever tradition.
I did it for Rap and Athics, so I feel like I want to do it for City of Brass. But City of Brass is really convenient because my City of Jordabe, which I think a lot of people have seen, but like I said, I run both a 5th edition game and a Swords and Wizardry game in my campaign. We put it up on this channel. It's located in a city of Jordabe, which is designed along North African and Minoan lines. That's a crossover there, but it's got so much Middle Eastern stuff in it that it worked really well with City of Brass. So I can use the stuff I've got, and then the stuff that I add for City of Brass, I'll still be able to use that terrain for something else. No way I would do something this large if I weren't going to be able to use the terrain again. This is going to be 3 weeks of 24/7 printing.
No, it is, and it's also going to be it'll be interesting, I think, also because people who watch the game or may watch this now and then watch the game 2 years from now, whatever, will see the pieces get used.
Yeah.
Because Jordabe is really heavy, like swords and sorcery kind of stuff. So it's not you won't see as many castle walls with giant ramparts and fancy paintings. You'll see lots and lots of stuff that's cities out of the sand kind of thing. The things you see in the Conan the Barbarian books. So I think it's really cool. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Not that part.
Awesome. It's awesome. The guy who runs it is.
This is why I hate this guy.
Okay, we've got Tom Tullis on the line. Hey, Tom.
Hey.
All right, so we'd like you to explain yourself in a couple of ways.
Yeah.
Number one, by classic, do you mean classical as in Greco-Roman?
No. I mean that it's going to be more of the classic tile, like our dungeons, where it's the wall connected to the 2x2 tile.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Tom! That's what I need now.
Program, Matt.
I'm
Zach probably understood it.
I'm gluing all the stuff together.
Well, that's not my problem now, is it?
It's about to be.
Don't give him the files, Tom, because I want him to do it without the files.
No, I want the file. If you're releasing it in August,
you're releasing it in August.
That means you have like 2 months. You've already got the files because you're already testing them out and printing them. You have your draft.
That doesn't sound like me. No, I'm not that organized.
No, but you have minions. You have minions.
Don't give it to him, Tom. Don't do it.
I got to do as Zach tells me to.
That's right. Yeah, no one does. That won't work either. No, but so one more time, Tom. So these are all for village. They're all like pieces, like for different buildings, different locations, fountains, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This was from our Kickstarter last fall. We had a lot of requests from people, just like Matt was saying. He wanted something a little more straightforward for doing layouts. It wasn't quite as fiddly. And we had a lot of people that wanted building sets done like our dungeon set. So that's just what we threw into the Kickstarter. And I think we're going to come out with it at the end of July, 1st of August.
Actually, you know what? That wouldn't help me particularly because the wall sets that I'm using, I'm actually using the ones from, Fat Dragon has a program where if you go to their RPG Now site, you also see they've got a community program where a lot of independent designers are visible underneath the line of the Fat Dragon stuff. Those guys, they're allowed to use the Dragon Lock. They're allowed to modify the pieces, which moves them forward a lot on their thing. And they're able to sell it through that Fat Dragon RPG Now site, and then Fat Dragon takes a cut. Now, what that means is that I looked through, and for the actual walls that I'm using for the village, this looks really shiny because of the light and it's not painted, but this is basically just a plaster wall. The Fat Dragon has several different village sets, but none of them quite had the Mediterranean Arabic sort of feel to them. But this guy who did the Mud Village, so I'm using the Fat Dragon posts, I'm using the Fat Dragon floors, I'm using the Fat Dragon accessories like balconies, so on and so forth. But the actual wall pieces,
someone's getting rich. Yeah,
I would have to.
Not me.
They're great pieces, Tom.
Thank you.
Phenomenal stuff.
I'm always bantering and like making fun of you back and forth because that's what we do at conventions with the time we're there. But your stuff is phenomenal. It's well thought out, well made. And the thing about a 3D printer is watching it print out becomes mesmerizing. So I think I know your floor tiles for printing in Rapid Athic. I can watch and I know exactly the order it's going to go in to make each tile with the print head cross it. They go, okay, now it's going to do the loop around with the things going. Like, okay, I'm about 10 more minutes away. Like, and I'll stare at it.
Yeah,
So
but can you sing the song? Can you sing the song of the noises your printer is going to make as it does the
that one?
I can't sing the song, but I have a budgie who is in the same room as the 3D printer. The budgie can sing the song. So it'll sit there.
Will you record that, please?
You can almost guess. Oh, that sounds like it's a floor tile.
That's something I didn't expect. That's cool.
Yep.
So anyway, I just think that how often you want to do this, man? How often we're going to be on talking this and showing the pieces up to the point where we're going to finish?
I think that probably maybe every 2 days,
something
like that, because that'll give me enough time to take pieces, show pieces in progress, stuff like that. But since we have Tom on here, Tom, basically what the project is here, the minis I walk through, City of Brass. Give me advice. What kind of advice for building a city like this right now?
And give it for free.
That doesn't sound like me.
This
buy another printer,
ladies and gentlemen.
The advice is buy another printer.
Games. He's giving his advice.
All right, so the advice is buy another printer and put the kids to work. See, my kids are.
It's what I do.
The one I've got here is 24. He's bigger than I am. So if he decides that he's going to get all angsty about,
does he like eating? I mean, there's a trade here you can work.
He's got a job. He can buy his own food. They get
Does he like his roof over his head? See, that's your there's your leverage.
Right.
Right. It's hot outside, man. In Arizona.
I mean, I got both of my kids painting. I mean, but they like eating. It's a good trade.
Okay. No, I'll see if I can get him painting.
Between you and Casey, there's a lot of crimes being committed.
Just remember, it's only illegal if you get caught. So,
yeah, and when you announce it over YouTube, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, child trafficker. Tom Jones. And so anyway,
it could be worse. They could be making.
Well, I think Matt, what we should
really tasteless joke. Never mind.
What we ought to do, Matt, is that we should make sure we get Casey's stuff up on the page, and then we should rendezvous back in a couple days and go over all this stuff. We'll have an announcement at that point of talking about a few other things we're going to do. I hope that more people are actually in the chat room so we can tease them. But right now, everybody I know who should be watching this is arguing about getting hotel rooms in North Texas on their own little private Facebook channel.
Oh, is that what's going on?
That's where literally everybody we know is there. There's 96 messages since we started because they're getting hotel rooms. And so I have a big announcement for them with Matt and with Jim. But since our only friend online was Tom and then Jim in the chat, we're going to save that one for the next time we do this, or the time after. So probably Tuesday or Wednesday, I imagine.
And then Tom will get to me privately and send me the files for the.
Yeah, Tom will definitely do that.
Tom will do that.
Yeah,
Tom will do that.
Sure. Tom will do that. I'll report on
Tom. Tom Knaus? I bet he does that.
You mean Tom, the guy you didn't take to North Texas with you guys last?
We want you to go so bad. I even put you on the cover of Satan's Auction's Invitations. You deserve to be there.
I didn't see any of that. Nobody ever talks
you weren't
to
there.
me.
Why weren't you there?
Who?
You're invited. If you don't go next year, we can't be your friend. It's my favorite time. It's a game hole's better run and just as much fun, but it doesn't have the same gritty, lame edge that Texas has got at midnight. So
that's
I say that with all sincerity.
Yeah.
So
all right, I seriously love to go next year. Just got to work a few things out first.
Yeah, well, we'll talk. We'll talk after we're offline, Tom. We'll find a way to get you there. We'll threaten you.
All right. So, all right, everybody. So that's probably about as interesting as this topic stays time-wise without seeing some progress on it. So, I've got my starting pieces. I showed them to you. I have the stuff I already made, and we're now beginning the process of building a city neighborhood, and we'll talk more next time about how to plan something like that, how to keep the colors consistent, how to keep the architecture consistent, and painting. I'll give some painting tips and so on and so forth.
And I will stand here kind of like a commentator.
Okay.
So I've done the printing, but the painting is a little beyond me. But I just want to say thank you, everybody. This is going to be a really exciting project. When you see the end of it versus us just talking about it now, you'll be pretty impressed. So, all right.
Thank you for watching, everybody. And we're going to go ahead and cut it off here, but we will have an update on how we're doing in a couple of days.